Welcome to the channel. You're about to dive into something epic. But before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on any of the exciting content coming your way. Let's jump right in. For as long as humanity had been part of the interstellar community, we were treated like the galaxy's greatest joke. The Galactic Council, an assembly of the most advanced species in existence, had labeled us as the Silent Ones. It wasn't a term of endearment or respect. It was a polite way of calling us irrelevant. To them, we were a young species, barely crawling out of our solar system, with primitive technology and laughable achievements compared to the ancient civilizations that dominated the galaxy. They measured greatness in terms of millennia, in terms of empires that had withstood the test of time. And humanity, well, we were barely a footnote. The council chambers themselves were a testament to this inequality, towering monoliths of crystal and light, constructed by species with abilities that defied our understanding, stood as symbols of their dominance. Humans, with our clunky spaceships and awkward attempts at diplomacy, were simply tolerated. They gave us a seat at the table, but not a voice. Every time a human representative stood to speak, the other members of the council would roll their eyes, some even chuckling audibly. We didn't have a rich history of interstellar conquest, nor did we wield weapons that could bend reality. Instead, we brought what they saw as trivial: our art, our stories, and our relentless curiosity. But what they found most laughable was our lack of a galactic legacy. Every other species in the council could trace their origins back to some grand moment in history. The Zelvarians were the architects of the first wormhole networks. The Dranaxians had conquered half the galaxy before humanity even discovered fire. And the Valtari, they claimed to have sung the stars into existence. And humans? We had nothing like that. To them, we were barely more than children, fumbling our way through a universe far too vast for us to comprehend. They dismissed our history as small and unremarkable, limited to a single planet. They mocked our wars, our struggles, even our victories. "You're a species without a legacy," one council member had once said. A grain of sand trying to stand among mountains. It wasn't just condescension. It was complete dismissal. No matter how hard we tried to prove ourselves, we were always met with the same sneering faces and patronizing tones. To them, we were a species to be pitied, not respected. And so, humanity kept its head down. We observed, we learned, and we waited. Because deep down, we knew one thing they didn't. History has a funny way of rewarding the underestimated. For decades, humanity endured the ridicule of the Galactic Council in silence. But, as fate would have it, the universe had plans for us that no one, not even the most advanced civilizations, could have foreseen. The turning point began quietly, far from the eyes of the council, on a barren stretch of Martian desert. A team of human archaeologists, funded by a modest research grant, was excavating a site believed to contain remnants of ancient Martian geology. What they discovered was far more than rock formations. At first glance, it appeared to be an ordinary chunk of stone, worn smooth by millennia of wind and time. But as the team cleaned off the layers of Martian dust, something extraordinary emerged. Symbols. They weren't scratches or random patterns. These were deliberate markings, etched with precision. The artifact was unmistakably alien. Its material was unlike anything found on Mars or Earth. Neither metal nor stone, but something that shimmered faintly, as though alive with some forgotten energy. The symbols carved into its surface were intricate, forming a spiral pattern that seemed almost deliberate, as though it held a message waiting to be uncovered. The discovery sparked immediate curiosity. The artifact was transported back to Earth under the highest security protocols, where experts in linguistics, xenology, and quantum physics took turns analyzing it. But the more they studied, the more questions arose. What was it? Who had created it? And why did the symbols seem familiar yet entirely indecipherable? Months turned into years. Scientists across the globe worked tirelessly to decode the artifact's markings. using every tool and method at their disposal. Artificial intelligence, quantum decryption algorithms, even centuries-old linguistic techniques. Nothing worked. It was as if the symbols belonged to a language so advanced that human minds couldn't grasp it. Word of the artifact eventually reached the Galactic Council, who dismissed it almost instantly. A relic of the past, they said. A forgotten trinket from a species that no longer exists. The Council's laughter echoed through the communication channels. Let the humans waste their time, one delegate sneered. They'll never understand it. It's beyond them. But what the Council failed to understand was that humans had something no algorithm or ancient alien mind possessed. Sheer, stubborn determination. As the world's greatest minds worked tirelessly, something remarkable began to emerge. Small patterns in the symbols hinted at a structure, a grammar, a logic. It wasn't random at all. It was a language. One far older than any in human or galactic memory. That revelation changed everything. Humanity's efforts doubled. Linguists and mathematicians from every corner of the globe collaborated, poring over every etching, every line. This wasn't just about cracking a code. It was about unlocking the secrets of a civilization that had been lost to time. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council continued their mockery. To them, the artifact was nothing more than a relic of the Kelthar, an ancient species whose memory had faded into obscurity. The Kelthar were legendary architects of the galaxy, but their language, culture, and history had been erased in a cataclysm so complete that not even the Council's oldest members could recall their true story. Why bother with the past? They asked. The Kelthar are gone. Their language is a corpse. There's nothing to gain from poking around in a graveyard. But humanity saw something different. We saw a challenge, a chance to prove that we weren't just the silent ones. The breakthrough came when one researcher, a linguist named Dr. Elena Marquez, noticed an uncanny resemblance between the artifact's symbols and ancient Earth scripts. It wasn't an exact match, but there was something familiar in the way the symbols curved and connected. Almost like cuneiform or hieroglyphics, but with an otherworldly complexity. Dr. Marquez realized that the artifact's language relied on layers of meaning. Each symbol wasn't just a word or phrase, it was an idea, a concept that shifted based on context. It was a language designed for beings who thought in dimensions humans could barely comprehend. With this insight, progress accelerated. The first symbol was translated to mean power. The second, truth. Piece by piece, the puzzle came together, and humanity began to grasp the outlines of a language that hadn't been spoken in over 1,000,000 years. The turning point wasn't just about cracking the code. It was about proving humanity's resilience. Despite the mockery, despite the odds, we had done something no other species had attempted. We reached into the depths of time and began to bring the forgotten back to life. Little did the Galactic Council know, but their laughter was about to turn to stunned silence. As humanity pieced together the fragments of the artifact's language, a deeper realization began to dawn. This wasn't just any ancient relic. The markings, the material, even the energy radiating from the artifact, it all pointed to something extraordinary. The Galactic Council's dismissal of the artifact as a forgotten trinket wasn't surprising. They had long abandoned anything that didn't serve their immediate interests. But for humans, it became an obsession. We weren't just uncovering a language. We were unlocking the story of an entire civilization. The name Kelthar had been whispered in the annals of galactic lore. To most, they were little more than myth. A race of beings said to possess unparalleled knowledge and power. The Kelthar had once shaped the galaxy itself. Their cities were rumored to touch the stars, their technology capable of manipulating the very fabric of reality. But then, as if swallowed by the universe itself, they vanished. No one knew why or how. Some said they were destroyed in a great war. Others claimed they ascended to a higher plane of existence. What was undeniable was their impact. Their creations, philosophies, and culture left ripples that could still be felt in the modern era. Yet their language, the key to their knowledge, had been lost. The artifact we'd found was more than a relic. It was a fragment of their story. The complexity of the artifact's symbols defied anything humanity had ever encountered. Unlike human languages, which were linear and sequential, the Kelthar language operated in layers. Each symbol carried multiple meanings, shifting depending on context, tone, and even the sequence of surrounding symbols. It was a language designed not for individuals, but for a collective mind. A species that thought in unison, their ideas flowing like rivers merging into a vast ocean. To make matters even more complicated, the symbols weren't static. Under close examination, they seemed to change depending on the observer's perspective, as if the language itself was alive. Artificial intelligence models failed repeatedly, unable to account for the fluidity of the symbols. Algorithms that cracked human codes in seconds struggled to decode even a single phrase. The artifact wasn't just a puzzle. It was a test of humanity's ingenuity and determination. But then, humanity's greatest strength came into play: our adaptability. Unlike the more advanced species of the Galactic Council, who relied on technology for everything, humans had an innate ability to connect dots, to think creatively and emotionally. Dr. Elena Marquez and her team began looking at the symbols not as static text, but as art, as expressions of emotion and intent. They studied the patterns like musicians analyzing a symphony, searching for rhythm and flow. One symbol caught their attention. It resembled a spiral, with intricate lines branching outward. At first, they thought it represented a physical concept, like gravity or time. But when viewed under ultraviolet light, hidden etchings revealed a deeper meaning: unity. That revelation opened the floodgates. Other symbols began to make sense. Words like power, truth, and legacy emerged, forming fragments of sentences. It was as if the Kelthar themselves were guiding humanity through their language, whispering secrets from the depths of time. The Galactic Council, in their arrogance, had never bothered to preserve the Kelthar's memory. To them, the past was irrelevant. They prided themselves on progress, on looking forward, never backward. But humanity was different. We thrived on stories, on history. We sought meaning in the forgotten, in the overlooked. Where others saw a dead language, we saw an opportunity, a chance to understand the Kelthar and perhaps learn why their empire fell. The Council's disdain only fueled our determination. If they wouldn't value the past, we would. And in doing so, we began to uncover a truth that would shake the galaxy to its core. As humanity's understanding of the language grew, so did the artifact's significance. It wasn't just a relic. It was a message. The Kelthar had left it behind for a reason, as though they knew their civilization would one day vanish and their knowledge would need a new steward. And humanity, the species mocked as the Silent Ones, was proving itself worthy of that responsibility. The Galactic Council might have forgotten the Kelthar, but the Kelthar hadn't forgotten the galaxy. And now, their voice, silent for eons, was beginning to speak again, through us. The Kelthar language was unlike anything humanity, or the galaxy, had ever encountered. For most species, deciphering it would have been an impossible task. The Galactic Council had dismissed the effort as futile, scoffing at the idea that a species as primitive as humanity could succeed where even their most advanced technologies had failed. But what they underestimated, what they could never have predicted, was humanity's unique gift: our unparalleled ability to learn, adapt, and connect. Humanity's history is a story of adaptation. Long before we reached the stars, we were a species of storytellers, linguists, and bridge builders. Across Earth's history, humans had developed thousands of languages, each with its own unique rules, structures, and nuances. We were masters of communication, able to weave meaning into words, symbols, and gestures. This knack for language wasn't just practical. It was ingrained in our DNA. We saw patterns where others saw chaos. We found meaning where others found confusion. And this ability was about to set us apart from every other species in the galaxy. When humanity began working on the Selthar artifact, we didn't just rely on cold, calculated algorithms. We approached it with the curiosity of linguists, the creativity of artists, and the determination of explorers. The symbols weren't just marks on a relic. They were pieces of a puzzle, a story waiting to be told. Dr. Elena Marquez, the linguist who had first deciphered the artifact's spiral symbol, became the face of the effort. She and her team didn't treat the language as an obstacle but as a challenge, a mystery to unravel. Unlike the Galactic Council, who saw the language as dead, humans approached it with reverence. We listened to the artifact, so to speak. We studied the flow of its symbols, the way they seemed to interact with one another, as though they were alive with meaning. The breakthrough came when Dr. Marquez realized something extraordinary. The Chelthar language wasn't just a means of communication. It was an experience. Each symbol wasn't static. It represented a concept. But that concept could shift depending on how the symbols were arranged. For example, a single symbol might mean light when placed alone, but when paired with another symbol, it could mean enlightenment or revelation. It was a language designed not for individuals, but for a collective consciousness, a species that thought as one. Humanity's efforts didn't go unnoticed. As progress was made, whispers began to spread throughout the galaxy. Other species began to pay attention, some with curiosity, others with unease. The Galactic Council, in particular, wasn't pleased. The idea that humanity, mocked as a species of irrelevance, was decoding the Kelthar language sent ripples through the council chambers. They dismissed it publicly, but privately, they began to monitor the situation closely. Humanity didn't care. For the first time, we weren't trying to impress the council. This wasn't about earning their approval. It was about proving something to ourselves. As the translations progressed, humanity encountered countless setbacks. Some symbols resisted all attempts at interpretation. Entire phrases seemed to contradict themselves, as though the language was deliberately testing us. But instead of giving up, we pushed harder. Where machines failed, human intuition stepped in. Teams of researchers spent endless nights analyzing symbols, debating their meanings, and testing theories. Every breakthrough, no matter how small, was celebrated like a victory. It wasn't just the scientists who were invested. The entire human race rallied behind the effort. News broadcasts covered the progress. Schools taught students about the Selthar, and artists created works inspired by the language's beauty. Humanity wasn't just learning the Shelthar language. We were embracing it. The turning point came when the team translated their first complete sentence. It was a simple phrase, but its implications were profound. In unity, we transcend. The words resonated deeply. They weren't just a motto. They were a philosophy, a glimpse into the soul of the Kelthar civilization. It was a reminder that their greatness wasn't built on power or dominance, but on connection and understanding. More sentences followed, each one unveiling a fragment of the Kelthar's legacy. Humanity began to see the outlines of their story, their rise, their philosophies, and perhaps even the reasons for their fall. By now, it was clear to everyone, including the Galactic Council, that humanity had done the impossible. We had not only resurrected a language thought to be lost forever, but we had begun to understand the civilization behind it. The Council, once so dismissive, started to grow uneasy. Their laughter had faded, replaced by something else entirely: uncertainty. What they couldn't comprehend was how humanity, a species they had deemed insignificant, could achieve something so monumental. They had forgotten one simple truth: where others see limitations, humans see possibilities. And so, humanity's hidden talent, our ability to adapt, to connect, to uncover meaning where others see none, became the foundation of a quiet but unstoppable revolution. Humanity wasn't just speaking the Chelthar language. We were breathing life into it. proving that even the smallest voices can awaken the echoes of the past. As humanity delved deeper into the Chelthar language, it became clear that the artifact wasn't just a relic or a historical curiosity. It was a message, a beacon left behind by a civilization that had once ruled the stars. At first, the translations came slowly, with fragments and incomplete phrases that hinted at something profound. But as more symbols were deciphered, the true purpose of the artifact began to take shape. The breakthrough came when the team translated a full segment of the artifact. Unlike the scattered words and phrases that preceded it, this was a coherent statement, an intentional communication meant to stand the test of time. The message read, "To those who follow, we entrust our legacy. In unity, there is strength. In remembrance, there is survival." Our fall was not the end. It was the beginning. The weight of the words was undeniable. The Chelthar had not simply vanished into obscurity. They had left this message as a deliberate act, a way to preserve their knowledge and warn future generations. But what did they mean by our fall? And why was this message hidden on an abandoned artifact, buried under layers of time? As more of the artifact was translated, a narrative began to emerge, a fragmented story of the Kelthar's rise and ultimate downfall. They had been a species of extraordinary intellect and unity, their civilization thriving for eons. Their language, their culture, their technology, it all revolved around the idea of interconnectedness, of harmony between individuals and the universe. But something had gone wrong. The message hinted at a catastrophic event, one so devastating that it tore their civilization apart. Phrases like "the Great Fracture" and "the silence that followed" painted a picture of a calamity that erased the Kelthar from existence. What caused it? The message didn't say, at least, not yet. But it became clear that this was no ordinary downfall. The Kelthar hadn't been defeated by war, famine, or natural disaster. Their language described concepts that were almost incomprehensible to human understanding. A rupture in the fabric of thought, the collapse of unity, an unraveling of the collective mind. It was as if the very essence of what made them who they were had been turned against them. By now, the Galactic Council had stopped ignoring humanity's efforts. Word of the translations had spread throughout the galaxy, and the Council's once dismissive tone was replaced by a quiet tension. The Chelthar had been a legend to them, a name whispered in the dark corners of history. To hear their voice again, through humanity's translations, was unsettling. For centuries, the Council had prided itself on being the pinnacle of galactic civilization. Yet here was proof that even the greatest empires could fall, and that their warnings could be overlooked. Some Council members began questioning whether humanity should be allowed to continue their work. What if this knowledge is dangerous? They argued. What if the Kelthar's downfall is a lesson we're not meant to learn? Others dismissed the warnings as paranoia. They're just humans, they scoffed. What could they possibly uncover that we can't control? But beneath the surface, fear was growing. The Council had spent millennia burying the past, focusing only on the present. Humanity's determination to uncover the truth was a direct challenge to their complacency. As the translations progressed, researchers noticed something unusual about the artifact itself. It wasn't just a container for the Kelthar language. It seemed to respond to the translations. The shimmering surface of the artifact began to glow faintly, its light pulsing in rhythm with the deciphered symbols. At first, it was dismissed as a side effect of its composition. But as more sentences were translated, the pulses grew stronger, almost as if the artifact were alive. Dr. Elena Marquez theorized that the artifact was more than a message. It was a key. The Kelthar hadn't just left behind their words. They had encoded something within the artifact, something that could only be unlocked by understanding their language. With every new translation, humanity came closer to uncovering the artifact's true purpose. The phrases became more urgent, more directed, as though the Kelthar were speaking directly to us across the gulf of time. One passage stood out. Our legacy lies in the language. To understand is to awaken. To awaken is to become. What did it mean to become? The words were tantalizingly vague, yet they hinted at something monumental. Was it knowledge? Power? A connection to the Kelthar themselves? The Council, now fully aware of the artifact's potential, demanded that humanity hand it over. You don't understand what you're dealing with, they warned. This is a matter for the Council to control. But humanity refused. For the first time, we stood our ground. This wasn't just about the artifact anymore. It was about proving that we belonged, that we could rise above the Council's condescension and show the galaxy what we were capable of. The artifact's glow became more intense as humanity approached a critical threshold. The next symbol to be translated was larger than the rest, etched deeply into the center of the artifact. It took weeks of effort, but when the translation was complete, the artifact's light surged, illuminating the room in a dazzling display. The phrase read, "The beginning is near. Prepare to remember." The artifact wasn't just a relic of the past. It was a catalyst for the future. Humanity had unlocked the first chapter of the Kelthar's legacy, but what lay ahead was something far greater. For the first time, the galaxy began to realize what humanity had always known. The underestimated often hold the greatest potential.